The last thing my mother ever said to me before leaving me at that bus station was, "Stay right here, I will be back." I was 7 years old. I believed her. That was my first mistake, because she never came back. For the next 11 years, I wondered the same thing every night. Why was not I worth coming back for? Then 20 years later, my phone rang. The woman on the other end of the call said, "Are you Daniel Brooks?" "Yes." There was a pause. Then she said, "Your mother has been trying to find you." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because after everything that happened, those words sounded impossible. My mother had not tried to find me when I was 7. She had not found me when I was 8, or 12, or 16, or 18. So why now? Then the woman said something that made my entire body go cold. "She knows what you have become." And suddenly I understood. My mother had not come looking for her son. She had come looking for something else. And this time I was ready. My name is Daniel Brooks. And before I tell you what happened at that bus station, you need to understand something. I did not grow up hating my mother. At least not at first. When you are 7 years old, you do not understand abandonment. You understand waiting. You understand promises. You understand that your mother said she would be back. So you wait. That is exactly what I did. I sat on that cold metal bench with a small red backpack between my feet. Inside were 2 shirts, a pair of jeans, a toothbrush, and a picture of my mother and me. I remember looking at that picture over and over. She was smiling. I was sitting on her shoulders. We looked happy. I kept thinking she would not leave someone she loved. So she must be coming back. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then an hour. The station slowly emptied. People came and went. Buses arrived. Buses left. But my mother did not. A woman working behind the ticket counter eventually noticed me. She walked over and crouched beside me. "Sweetheart, where is your mom?" I pointed toward the parking lot. "She went to get something." The woman looked outside, then back at me. "How long ago?" I looked at the clock. "I do not know." She sat beside me. "What did she say?" I answered without hesitation. "She said she would be back." That sentence became the first lie I told myself. Because she was not coming back. The police found my mother 3 days later. Or at least they found her car. It was abandoned almost 200 miles away. My mother was gone. No explanation. No note. No phone call. Nothing. Eventually, I was placed into foster care. And that is where my real childhood began. Not with bedtime stories. Not with family vacations. Not with birthday parties. With questions. Every new home asked the same thing. "Where is your father?" I did not know. "Where is your mother?" I would say, "She will come back." I said it for years, even when I stopped believing it. The first family that took me in was the Harris family. They were not rich. They lived in a small house outside Columbus, Ohio. But they had something I had never had before. Consistency. Mrs. Harris woke me up for school. Mr. Harris fixed my broken bicycle. They remembered my birthday. They even kept a small cake in the refrigerator for me. I did not know what to do with that kind of kindness. One night, when I was 11, Mrs. Harris found me sitting on the stairs. I was holding the old photograph of my mother. She sat beside me. "Do you miss her?" I nodded. Then she asked, "Do you want to know something?" "What?" "Someone leaving you does not mean you are not worth staying for." I looked at her. But why did she leave? Mrs. Harris did not answer. She just hugged me. And for the first time, I cried about it. Not because my mother had left, but because I finally understood she had chosen to. I became obsessed with one thing after that. Building something nobody could take away from me. I was not the smartest kid in school. I was not the most athletic. But I could fix things. Old radios. Broken computers. Game consoles. Anything with wires. At 14, I started buying damaged electronics from garage sales. I would repair them and sell them online. My first profit was $27. I still remember staring at that money. $27. It was not much. But I had earned it myself. Nobody had abandoned me. Nobody had rescued me. Nobody had handed it to me. I had created it. And something clicked inside my head. Maybe I could not control what happened to me, but I could control what happened next. By 17, I had saved almost $8,000. By 21, I had started a small technology repair company. By 26, we were building software for small businesses. And by 32, the company had grown far beyond anything I had imagined. We had offices in 3 states, more than 100 employees, and investors were suddenly interested. Financial magazines started writing about the company. People began calling me a young entrepreneur. But there was one thing I never talked about. My mother. I never searched for her. Not once. People sometimes asked me why. The truth was simple. I had spent enough of my childhood waiting for someone who was not coming. I was not going to spend my adulthood doing the same thing. Then one Tuesday morning, everything changed. I was sitting in my office when my assistant knocked. "Daniel, there is a woman here to see you." "Who?" "She says she is your mother." I froze. For several seconds, I could not breathe. My assistant looked confused. Should I send her away? I stared at the door. Part of me wanted to say yes. Another part of me was 7 years old again, sitting on that bus station bench, looking at the parking lot, waiting. Finally, I said, "Bring her in." The door opened, and there she was, my mother, older, gray hair, thin face. But I recognized her immediately. She stopped when she saw me. Her eyes filled with tears. "Daniel?" I did not answer. She took one step forward. "I have missed you." I looked at her. Then I said, "You do not get to say that." She started crying. "I know." "No," I said quietly. "You do not know." She wiped her face. "I was young. You were my mother." I was scared. "I was 7. She looked down. And then she said the sentence I will never forget. "I never stopped loving you." I almost believed her. Almost. Until she told me why she had come. She did not ask me how I was. She did not ask about my childhood. She did not ask about the Harris family. She did not ask whether I was happy. Instead, she said, "I need your help." I stared at her. "With what?" She hesitated. "Money." There it was. The word I had been expecting. But there was something strange about the way she said it. Like she was embarrassed. Like she had rehearsed it. "How much?" $200,000. I leaned back. "Why?" She told me she had medical debt. A house she could not afford. Bills she could not pay. I listened quietly. Then I asked, "Why did not you contact me before?" She looked away. "I did not know where you were." That answer bothered me. Because by the time I was 18, my name had appeared in newspapers. My company had a website. There were interviews online. I had been easy to find. But apparently she could not find me. Until now. I told her I needed time. She nodded. Then she stood. Before leaving, she turned around. "Daniel." "What?" "I know you probably hate me." I shook my head. "I do not hate you." She looked surprised. "I just do not know you." She cried again. Then she left. I thought that was the end. It was not. That night I received an email. No subject. Only one sentence. "Ask your mother why she left you at that station." I stared at the screen. My heart started pounding. Because whoever sent it knew something I did not. I replied immediately. "Who are you?" 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Nothing else. The next morning, another email arrived. This time there was an attachment. A photograph. It was my mother standing beside a man I had never seen before. The date on the photograph was the same month she disappeared. I zoomed in. There was something written on the back. A name. Richard Vale. I searched the name. Richard Vale had been a local businessman. And according to an old newspaper article, he had died 20 years earlier. But that was not the shocking part. The article mentioned my mother. And something else. A 7-year-old boy. Me. I kept reading. My mother had not simply disappeared. She had been involved in a legal dispute with Richard Vale over money. And apparently I was part of that dispute. I called the woman who had contacted me. She answered immediately. "Daniel? Who are you?" "My name is Laura. I worked for Richard Vale." "What did my mother have to do with him?" There was silence. Then she said, "Your mother did not abandon you because she did not love you." I clenched my jaw. "Then why?" "She was trying to protect you." I almost shouted. "Protect me?" "She believed someone was watching your family." "Who?" "I do not know." "Then why leave me?" "Because she thought if you disappeared from her life, you would be safe." I stood there in silence. For 25 years, I had believed my mother simply did not want me. Now someone was telling me she might have left me because she thought she was protecting me. But there was still one question. Why did not she come back? Laura hesitated. Then she said because she was afraid. Of what? Of the same people who were after Richard. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about the bus station. My mother's face. Her hand on my shoulder. Her words. "Stay right here." What if that was not abandonment? What if it was desperation? But then another thought hit me. If she had really been protecting me, why had she suddenly returned after 20 years? And why did she want money? The next morning, I confronted her. She came to my office. I placed the photograph on the desk. She looked at it. Her face went completely white. "Where did you get this?" "Who is Richard Vale?" She sat down. For the first time since she had returned, she looked genuinely terrified. "Daniel, tell me the truth." She stared at the photograph. Then she whispered, "He was not your father." "I know, but he knew who your father was." I froze. "My father?" My mother closed her eyes. Then she said, "Your father did not die like I told you." I had spent my entire life believing my father was dead. But he was not. He had disappeared. and Richard Vale had been the last person known to have spoken to him. My mother finally told me the truth. My father had discovered financial fraud inside Richard Company. He planned to expose it. Before he could, he vanished. My mother became terrified. She believed someone was following her. She was afraid they would use me to pressure her. So she made the most painful decision of her life. She left me at the bus station. She thought the foster system would keep me hidden. She thought someone else could protect me better than she could. But there was another part of the story, the part she had never told anyone. She had been given an envelope. Inside was evidence. Evidence worth millions. And that envelope had been hidden with me. I looked at her. Where is it? She started crying. I do not know. You do not know? I thought it was gone. Where did you leave it? She shook her head. I did not leave it. Then where? She looked directly at me. With you. My stomach dropped. What? The day I left you at the station, I put it inside your backpack. I suddenly remembered. The red backpack. 2 shirts. Jeans. Toothbrush. Photograph. I had carried that backpack for years. But eventually it disappeared. I thought about it. Then I remembered. Mrs. Harris had kept an old storage box containing my childhood belongings. I called her immediately. 2 hours later, I was standing in Mrs. Harris' basement. She brought out the box. Inside were old school papers, a broken toy car, my childhood photographs, and at the very bottom, the red backpack. My hands were shaking. I opened it. The fabric was faded. The zipper barely worked. There was nothing inside. Then I noticed something. The bottom lining was thicker than it should have been. I grabbed a pair of scissors, cut it open, and something fell onto the floor. A small black envelope. I stared at it. My mother had been telling the truth. But there was one more problem. The envelope had a name written on it. Not mine. Not my mother. It said, Daniel Brooks, open only when you are ready to know why your mother left you. I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter from my father. And the first sentence changed everything. Daniel, if you are reading this, then I am probably gone. And your mother probably had to make the hardest decision of her life. You may spend years believing she abandoned you. Please do not hate her. She saved your life. I stopped reading. My vision blurred. The letter explained everything. My father had discovered that Richard Vale was not working alone. He had uncovered a network of financial fraud. He had collected evidence. But he knew he might not survive long enough to expose it. So he created a backup. The evidence was hidden in a way only I could eventually access. But there was one final line. The person who helped me hide this is the person you should trust least. I read it again. Then again. My mother was standing behind me. I turned around. Who is it? She looked terrified. I do not know. Mom. I swear. Then I noticed something. She was not looking at me. She was looking at the letter. Specifically at the signature. My father's signature. And suddenly I understood. She knew more than she was telling me. I confronted her. She finally admitted it. She had known where my father was. Not for 20 years. But for several months after I was abandoned. He had survived. He had been hiding. And he had contacted her once. Only once. He told her never to look for him, never contact him, and never tell me, because someone was still watching. Then my mother made another confession. She had lied about not knowing where I was. She knew exactly where I was. She had received updates from the foster agency. She knew when I graduated high school. She knew when I started my company. She knew when I became successful. She had watched me from a distance. For years. I looked at her. Then why did not you come back? She started crying. Because I was afraid. Of what? She looked at me. Of ruining the life you built. I shook my head. No. She looked confused. You did not come back because you were afraid I would reject you. She nodded. And then when you found out I was successful. She could not answer. I finished the sentence for her. You thought maybe I would forgive you. She whispered yes. For the first time in my life. I understood everything my mother had loved me. She had also failed me. Both things could be true. She had sacrificed her relationship with me to protect me. But she had also allowed fear to keep her away for 25 years. And when she finally returned, she asked for money before asking for forgiveness. That hurt more than I expected. I could have understood the fear. I could have understood the past. But I could not accept being treated like an opportunity. So I made a decision. I would help her, but not in the way she expected. I paid her medical bills. I arranged a safe apartment. I made sure she had everything she needed. But I did not give her $200,000. She asked me why. I said because I did not want to buy a relationship with my mother. She started crying. Then she said, what do you want? I looked at her. The truth. Over the next several months, we slowly rebuilt something. Not a mother-son relationship. Not yet. Something smaller. A conversation. A phone call. A dinner. A memory. It was awkward. Sometimes painful. Sometimes beautiful. She told me stories about my childhood I had forgotten. I showed her pictures of my company. We talked about my father. Eventually, we even visited the bus station together. The same station. Same bench. 25 years later, my mother stood beside me. She looked at the place where she had left me. Then she whispered, "I thought I had ruined your life." I looked at her. "You did not." She started crying. "You survived me." I shook my head. "No." I took her hand. "I survived what happened to me." There was a long silence. Then I said, "And I built something good anyway." A year later, I sold my company. People assumed the money was the reason. It was not. The sale gave me freedom. Freedom to build something I had wanted to build for years. A foundation for children who had been abandoned, placed into foster care, or simply needed someone to believe in them. The first building opened in Ohio. And on the wall near the entrance, I put a sentence. Not my mother name. Not my father name. Mine. It said, "Your beginning does not get to decide your ending." My mother attended the opening. She stood quietly in the back. When I saw her, I walked over. She smiled. "I am proud of you." For the first time, I believed her. People sometimes ask me if I ever forgave my mother. The answer is complicated. Forgiveness is in not pretending something never happened. It is in not saying abandonment did not hurt. And it definitely is in not allowing someone to hurt you again. Forgiveness for me meant something different. It meant I stopped carrying the 7-year-old boy inside me, who was still sitting on that bench waiting for a car to come back. That little boy deserved to grow up. So I let him. And maybe that is the real ending to my story. My mother left me at a bus station when I was 7. For years, I thought that was the moment she ended my story. I was wrong. It was the moment my story began. Because she left me with one thing she never intended to give me. A choice. I could spend the rest of my life asking why was not I enough? Or I could build a life so meaningful that I stopped needing the answer. I chose the second. And if you are watching this because someone left you, because someone made you feel unwanted, because someone convinced you that their decision determined your value, please remember this. People can abandon you. They can disappoint you. They can walk away from you. But they do not get to write the final chapter of your life. You do. And before you go, I want to ask you something. If you were 7 years old and your mother left you at that bus station and 25 years later she came back asking for forgiveness, would you forgive her? Tell me honestly in the comments. Do not just write yes or no. Tell me why. Because I read these comments. And sometimes the people watching these stories are carrying stories of their own. If this story made you feel something, hit the like button. Not for the algorithm. For someone else who might need to hear this message tonight. And if you want more stories about betrayal, family secrets, unexpected comebacks, and people who turned the worst chapter of their lives into their greatest victory, subscribe now. Because the next story may start with someone losing everything, but it will not end that way. I will see you in the next story.